Alrighty guys, and welcome back to another episode of On the Hook, my Dead by Daylight podcast. As usual, we've got guest speakers coming in discussing everything DBD. So timestamp is above if you wanted to skip to any section. Otherwise guys, hope you enjoy, so stay tuned. Right, okay guys, welcome back to episode 6 of On the Hook, the Dead by Daylight podcast. So today we have Captain Salty, myself and Potatolegion, and we've got a new guest, SkinnyQuinny. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Skinny. I started making the Dead by Daylight YouTube videos towards the end of November last year, and I'm mostly a Blight main, but I do play other killers and a bit of Survivor too.
Alright, fantastic. So make sure guys, you check out his channel, show some love over there. Blightman, you don't see many of those around, I don't think.
How can you play Blight? I always have to vomit because I'm getting motion sick when I play Blight. I'm like, no, I can't handle this killer.
It is a difficult thing to handle.
Yeah, I can't get away with the height. I don't know what it is. Probably the motion and the height as well. All right.
If it's not the height, it's the power just not working when you like just bounce off of something instead of slamming into it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh well, as I say, check out his videos and we'll see some good Blight play there, I'm sure. All right, guys. So last week we touched upon the PTB and we were all discussing it from a point of view of just what we'd seen rather than what we played. Now it's obviously out, so just without repeating everything we said last week, what do you guys think of it? What have you thought of the PTB so far?
Should I go first? Okay. So I haven't actually played the PTB, guilty as charged, but I've seen a lot of videos on it, and I think the clown rework is great. I think reloading the bottles is fantastic. I don't want to go too much into that because we spoke about it last week. The only thing that creeps me out about the whole thing is the survivor animations. Especially when you're standing still, it's too stiff, it's too creepy. They need to make it more fluid and realistic. I thought a good idea would be for every survivor to have their own idle animation when they're standing still. Everyone has their own unique one, kind of like how they stand in the lobbies when you're waiting for a queue. And I also need to fix Dead Hard as soon as possible, because I do not like the fact that this perk allows you to just 360 and move around very fluidly. So I think they've got some tweaking to do with the animations, and I'm hoping by the time it's live, it's looking a bit more better. Other than that, I think the changes they've done are good, and I'm hoping all of the bugs that are with the PTB aren't going to come in the live version, just like the Twins update. So fingers crossed on that.
Yeah, okay. Captain Salty or SkinnyQuinny, did you manage to play it? I know, Captain Salty, I know you've been in a Dead by Daylight exile. So
Yep.
you did say last week you were going to be nice, so we never know. You might have loaded the PTB up, really enjoyed it.
I saw it. I saw a bit of it, but yeah, like the thing that Potato mentioned with the animations, like what the fuck are they doing? Like the injured survivor look like they have to take a shit or something like that. And the non-injured survivor just look like planking. You know, it's like it's like. And the Dead Hard thing is just because Dead Hard is a movement animation perk, and everything if they change the movement animation, like everything that is like based on movement will like be bugged or something. So like, yeah, it's like basically the new animations no one asked for broke Dead Hard that was broken before. You know, it's like, not a fan of the new animations, to be
No,
honest.
no. SkinnyQuinny, did you manage to play on the? I'm going to call you Skinny, by the way. You said that yourself. Did you manage to play any of the PTB?
I didn't download it because I don't really download the PTB for mid chapters. Usually I only download it for like the
Yeah.
new proper full content. But I was one of the people that when I read all the patch notes prior to it coming out, I just hated all of them. Like I read everything, was like, no, this isn't for me. But now that I've seen it sort of in action, there's a few more things like the clown changes I wasn't a fan of, but now that I've seen them, I think, no, this has got some use to it, and the HUD changes I can accept. I'm not a fan of them, but I can learn to live with them.
Right?
No, I can still live with that. Like they fucked the HUD. They should make it so that we can change it. Because if you play Plague, you can't see if people get when they get infected. Because on the portrait, it just like shimmers a little bit greenish, and you can't play Plague now with the new HUD. I tried it because I'm really interested in getting more Plague content for myself, but like with the new HUD, you can't play Plague because Plague is played the moment they get infected. You know they touch the gen, you know. And if you can't pick out like decidedly say that in this moment they touch the gen because you can't see it on the new like portraits, like you can't play Plague because you will always be not on time for your patrolling action, you know. And it's the same thing with like other things like the traps on pigs, the bear trap that pig brings and something like that. All those background things that they put on the old portraits are not working on the new HUD, and they are clearly not visible to see. And especially on a killer that like plays with information, when something is happening like this, is you can't play it. It's unplayable.
Yeah, I mean that's a few things that was mentioned there. Dead Hard Potato, yep. I haven't seen it in action, but people were saying to me, "Oh, you can now dead hard in the middle, like 360, and then do a dead hard." So whereas normally that would see me smashing into a wall or dead hard into a pallet or something. So yeah, I've heard a lot of people mention that. I don't particularly like the new animations either. I don't know about you guys. For the people that played it, but I play with a controller, and I actually had to change controllers because I was like, I think my controller's broke. It just doesn't feel right. Even when I was playing killer, it just felt so. It felt as if my killer was like pulling a trailer. It'd be walking a bit and pulling back. I switched to keyboard and mouse, tried that. So I don't know if that's just generally how the PTB was. Whether it was me, whether it was something on the PTB. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of the new animation at all. It just didn't seem right. I hear what you're saying as well, Captain Salty, because one of the questions I was going to ask is what would you change? The mid-chapter update that's due to be released on the 2nd of February. So I was thinking, what would you change before release? So I'm presuming that would be the HUD for yourself.
Potato. Give us the option to take the old one, because the old one worked with Plague. You could see exactly when they get infected and then know that they touched the gen, and you know where they could be, because most of the time you don't infect all the gens, you just regen themselves with like vomiting on a few gens, and if they touch one of them, you know exactly where they are, combining with the other perks. But you have to nail timing, and you can't do it with the new HUD. So I want the old interface to be a thing, because killers that rely on that background information of like the portrait changing like are not playable on this new HUD.
Yeah, I think what strikes me with this is, without bashing the devs, because I don't particularly like doing that, but I think there's some things that'll come out of PTB like that probably, if I was to stick my neck on the line, they probably didn't really think about until it's gone on the PTB. But ultimately, the PTB is there for testing, so hopefully they get that feedback and change it. Potato, anything particular you'd like to change before the release?
I think I agree with Salty there. I think the HUD should have an option to either stick with the old version or have a new version, or have a bit more flexibility of where you can move certain icons. And I agree, all the information you can currently get from the old HUD, you should be able to get from the new HUD. So infection states for Plague, for example, or pigs, helmet traps, they should all be the same. So they've got to make sure that they get that fixed before the live version. In terms of the killer changes, the only thing I'm a bit disappointed with is the Wraith. Yeah. When I was promised true invisibility, I want true invisibility. Why can Ghostface sneak up on you so well? Whereas a Wraith, it just feels like he's so easy to hear and so easy to know he's coming. They should get rid of his noise. They should make him invisible until he's literally behind you, and the only time you can react is when he's uncloaking with his bell. And with Sprint Burst and all these exhaustion perks, you could still get away. So I'd like to see that changed. I want a more horror and scary aspect from the Wraith, and just that little buff will make a huge difference.
Yeah.
That's it from me in terms of what I'd like to see changed.
Yeah. Skinny?
I realized something. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
go on.
carry on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying that Trapper and Wraith are like the kit works in the old game, but the kit doesn't work on the new game anymore, because back then the game was based on like 1v1 and chasing, but now the game is more based on 4v1, and like those two killers have no chance in that aspect. Like their gameplay feels like old, like they have to completely rework those killers to make them feel modern with all the other killers, like on par with like Pyramid Head, something like that. All the new killers feel modern, and they feel like they belong into a game like that, and they actually have a chance in this game. But Wraith and Trapper like just feel so old and outdated, and they have to completely rework those killers, because the game, how it is played and how people like will play this game, actually changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, no problem. It makes sense. Makes sense. Skinny, anything on the PTB you'd like to change before release?
I agree with all the things with the hood as well. I'd like that to change, but I actually have a personal change with the Crotus realm getting a rework.
Yeah.
I think the new filter they've put on it with this like beigey fog, I think that's way too intense. Like if you look at what Crotus is now, it's like a dim brown grey, and it's like really quite clear, quite easy to see. This new one, if there's a survivor like way off in the distance, you just won't see them because of the fog. And like there's a lot more clutter around those maps now. Like there's so much more props and things, like especially with Disturbed Ward, that's went from like a huge dead zone to props everywhere. And as a Blight player, that is a nightmare, because you're gonna really struggle with someone like Blight or Billy to cross map without bumping into everything.
Yeah.
Like obviously you can't have the whole map be massive dead zones, because then it's difficult for survivors, but they could at least scale back some of the props. You know, the map doesn't need to look like a landfill. It doesn't need to be absolutely just cluttered with everything.
Yeah, which they have done with a few maps. There seems to be. I mean, I've said before, I like the new map changes, but playing either as killer or survivor. So I've noticed, and I can't remember the name of the map. It might come to me, but one of the maps is so many dead zones there. But then you play another map, and I don't know whether it's just because I'm playing as survivor and I notice the dead zones more, because obviously as a killer I'm loving it, but when I'm playing killer I'm like, why is there so many bumps, you know, things to bump into when you're trying to navigate around the map? There's like little boxes or crates that you keep walking into. So yeah, I only played a few games on the PTB. I'm like you, Skinny, I don't normally download the PTB unless it's one of the changes, but so I didn't play it as much to notice that, but that's an interesting one, and hopefully they'll get that rectified. Okay.
About the Asylum,
Yeah.
I noticed something that is like pretty much stupid, and maybe it's because the devs don't play their own game, but they added see-through walls in Asylum, like outside in the garden. Now you have like see-through walls, so you can't loop that. You can't mind game that as a killer, because the survivor sees you at every fucking time. Like, why? Why make a map worse that was already survivor sided because it was so big? Why make it worse? And then the breakable walls, like now, if you know how to mind game the middle building and you how to counter that loop, you could just like outplay the survivor there. But now, like, because the breakable walls are at the stupidest position ever, you can't do it anymore. It's like they are a fan of the breakable walls, but they don't do anything. Like they just like add more stuff that punishes killers for not breaking it, which is like, I don't know, like every big streamer said it in the stream, like, stop adding breakable walls. It's not a solution. It's not a fix for broken loops. It's more of like it makes loops broken that weren't broken before. You know, and in Asylum you had like a few of them actually now that are, because of the breakable walls, like infinite. And it's like, lol. That's like, why are they actually adding breakable walls? No one wants them. Everyone says they are a bad idea, and like, well, and see-through walls.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts on the breakable walls, I agree. if it were just putting the breakable walls just for you to break, then yeah, I'd understand why people said that. But a map that stands out for me is Badhams. You've got the school and you have the two breakable walls on the end. Now, as killer, the only time I've broke that wall is when I've downed someone and I want to get to a hook quicker. So I'll put them down, break the wall and go out, or break the wall. But for loops, I'm like, I don't see the benefit. I'm like, why am I giving the survivors 2 extra exits to loop me round? So them walls always stay broke for me. I don't know about you guys, maybe I'm playing it wrong, but I just don't see the benefit of doing that. So I do like the fact that they've put some walls in there that would actually penalise you as a killer if you broke. So it's a little bit more strategy, isn't it? It's a little bit more to think about. I like that aspect, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Do any of you guys, do you know which map I'm on about, which walls?
Yeah, you're correct. With Adam Preschool, it's if you break both walls, you're actually opening up for survivors, because then they've only got 2 exits. So, for instance, Trapper, he hasn't got to worry about 4 ways out. He's only got to trap 1, and he can pressure the other door. So, yeah, that's a scenario where the breakable walls actually punish the killer rather than survivor, and they probably need to implement that a bit more, because as Salty was saying, there's a lot of strong loops in the game already, and they've just stuck a breakable wall in there, and even if you break it, you're just opening up the old loop. You're not actually doing yourself any favors. You're having to break the wall as well. So they need to think about that a bit more. And obviously I haven't played the PTB, but I've seen that there's like 3 or 4 breakable walls inside the main building now, and I'm not sure if all of them actually cut off loops and make them shorter, or if they're just how the old exits were. So I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I agree that breakable walls needs to be sort of reworked and think about a bit better to benefit killers a bit more rather than just survivors.
I think. I think one of the best maps with breakable walls on it, in my opinion, is like Midwich, because the breakable walls on that map, like they actually make sense. Like there's some you do want to break, and others that you want to leave. That like the one at the desk where with the window with the vault, I think breaking that one is great. But then like there's one corner that's like one of the ramps to get up and down on both the top and bottom floor. There's a breakable wall, and if you break that, it's easier to get to the ramp. And if you leave that one, it's better. So I think Midwich is a good example of like what they should do or try to do with breakable walls. Like have some that you do want to break and some that you want to maybe leave.
You're probably all right in what you're saying there, because I've only used one map as an example. We've got Midwich as well, obviously, which you've just mentioned, Skinny. But maybe it is a bit lazy how they're doing it, so just putting the breakable wall, whereas if use a little bit more strategy in there and hopefully do that with the rest of the maps. Again, I didn't play the PTB enough to really comment on the breakable walls in the games there. I don't even think I remember any breakable walls in the game. I only played that map twice, I think. So we'll see how that is when it's released. Right. Okay, guys.
The problem is who wants more tactic in breakable walls. Like it's just a thing that benefits survivor if the killer doesn't know what walls to break, and it's like just add a wall there that you can't break to make it harder for survivor to loop you. Which is like, especially in Batham, there's like this building that is not the school, that is like, if you don't break the wall, you have no chance of getting a survivor there. Like if you don't break the wall, you create an infinite.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if I'm looking at it from both points of view, I think if I'm looking at it just from a killer's perspective, then yeah, maybe I would be thinking along them lines. But I played a game yesterday, was looping someone in the Badhams in the basement, and they didn't break the wall, and that resulted in me wiggling out after they finally downed me, because they'd forgot to break the wall. They tried walking the long way around, and I think that's the element of strategy that you need. So I'm sure that killer probably won't do that again. I've probably been in that position myself where I've done it. I've picked them up and I've thought, oh, right, I was lucky enough I could put them down and there was a hook nearby, but they didn't have that luxury. So I think it does benefit survivors play as well. Whether or not it rewards good play, because did I loop particularly well? Probably not, but my thinking was, this guy hasn't closed the door, I'm going to try to get them down here. And lucky for me, there wasn't a basement there, so it was in the other building. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things. I think you're probably going to have a lot of 2s and 4s for. So, we shall see how the rest of the maps face when they come out. Right, okay, I'll move on, guys. So something I read about in Leaks by Daylight is about potentially a tournament mode. So if you're not aware, I'll put the details on screen, but Leaks by Daylight revealed there's going to potentially be a tournament mode introduced for the anniversary. It's going to have certain rules. It's going to have 16 player mode, 2 spectators, and the potential to split the screen into 4. Voice chat will be introduced in a push to talk system. So firstly, guys, what do you think about a tournament mode?
I mean, if they're going to welcome any different game type that's fun to play with your friends, then go for it. When you say tournament mode, do you mean actually live? So if I were to click a button, I'd just join a random tournament? Or is it just something I could do with friends? How does that work?
It didn't specify that as such. It just said that obviously they're digging the data, and they've seen these new scenarios being introduced, and they're speculating it's tournament mode. They could be a million miles off. One other thing it said was an option to click to stream it directly onto Twitch. So not 100% sure in regards to if it's going to be a tournament, but interesting to see if you can do that. That's a good question. Could you just pop into it? Are they going to save it for the Twitch streamers who do? I know you see quite a few of the bigger guys using Dead by Daylight tournaments. Is it just going to be for them? Is it going to be for normal people to join in? Can you get a team together? I'm not sure, to be honest. Not sure. I just seen it on there and thought, be interesting to see your opinions on it.
Okay, well, if it's something that everyone can do with friends and it's not a random online thing, I think that could be quite cool. The reason I say just for the sort of like with your friends is because the main issue with Dead by Daylight is lobby times for both Survivor. Well, depending on the day. Like if you play, for me, from the UK, if I play in the morning, I can never find a killer queue. And in the evening, it's the other way around. So I feel like if they introduce another game mode, it's going to draw attention away from the actual game.
Yeah.
And the queues are going to be much, much bigger. But if they're just introducing something that's kind of cool and easier for these Twitch streamers to do events, because I've seen a lot of people do tournaments and stuff, which could be great, especially for all of us content creators. I welcome it. I mean, I welcome different game modes and stuff like that, but I'm just a little bit skeptical that it's going to draw attention away from the main game that's already got really bad lobby times.
Yeah. CptSalty or Skinny? Yeah? Go on, Skinny.
I pulled it on Twitter now. I pulled up the thing about what they dug up on tournaments, and it says that it's like official tournaments and that you'll need like an access key to get in. So presumably it's not something you can just like start with friends. It's official things that like the devs will start, and then they'll hand out codes to the various people they want in, who then join and obviously broadcast it and run through, which is kind of a bit upsetting because I've seen these videos of people doing tournaments and I've thought that sounds like something really cool to do, like to have like DBD tournaments and go through rounds and stuff. That sounds really awesome. It's just a shame that like the devs decide, oh, we are going to implement this, but only we're going to host it and only people with codes can get in. Like,
yeah, it makes it sort of inclusive or exclusive to them. Let's say not inclusive, exclusive to who they choose. It was a bit like the codes, you know, when they were saying, oh, we're going to give codes to certain streamers, certain YouTubers, and I was like, well, you know, majority of people have an audience and it'd be nice for everyone to share these codes out, you know. But yeah, CptSalty, what's your thoughts on a tournament? I know you like to you're very intense with the game sometimes. Tournament mode, would you be interested?
No, I think the tournament scene, the competitive scene of the Blood is a joke. Like the game is unbalanced, buggy, exploitable. It's like RNG based. It's just not a game where you can make like competitive tournaments. And I think those tournaments are basically for fog whisperers or people that are top tier level because they want tournament style of game, and the matchmaking won't give will give it to them. and maybe we see the best Dead by Daylight players fighting in the tournament. But like I said, I think tournaments in Dead by Daylight are a joke because the game, you can't take it serious as a competitive game. Like, I can't take Hearthstone serious, but like for whatever reason, like people like they play for millions of dollars every year for a big tournament. Like, what the fuck? It's like you lose at Hearthstone, you lose like to run big bullshit clown fiesta move, you lose a whole tournament, which is like feels bad, you know. And then in Dead by Daylight, you lose games because the game is unbalanced on higher levels. Like, if it would be a tournament where people get invited, it might be the biggest streamers of the platform, maybe Fog Whisperers. I don't think that you or Potato, Skinny, any of the smaller YouTubers or streamers will get into those tournaments, which is like, why should we care about it? Like, I personally don't like tournaments in Dead by Daylight just because, like, until they haven't fixed the base issue of the game, this game will never be competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because what it did say was the reveal that there's going to be certain rules, so that'd be quite interesting to see what rules they introduce to solve what you're basically saying there about the balance. So
the problem with that is tournaments are always like you one hook people and then you know at them. That's how killers play tournaments, which is like the most boring thing ever. Like, you try to hook everyone, they do gens, you still in the end you have like 0 fucking kills, but then in the end you just know at them, you know? If they don't find know it, they will die of know it. But if they find know it while they do gens, like, the killer has no chance of actually getting a kill. Most of the time they get 0 kills in those games, which is like, do you want to see that? Get killers getting destroyed by perfect survivor teams? No.
Yeah.
I think this is all just a ploy by the devs, because obviously Dead by Daylight is one of those games where big streamers advertise their game for them.
Yeah.
And I think what they want to do is encourage the big Fog Whisperers and people like that to go into this tournament mode and encourage more viewers and get more people into the game. I just think it's something they've done to make it easier for these people to host tournaments. And as Salty was saying, this is not a game that could be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form when it comes to being competitive. And when I see team names of Swifts with like Big League or like esports in front of their name and they're actually trying to play this game competitively, I think it's kind of hilarious because it's so broken and unbalanced. The 4 best survivors in the world, let's just say they're amazing. Know every loop tile back of their hand, best perks. Doesn't matter how good you are as killer, you're never going to win just because of how broken the game is towards survivor. So I don't think this is going to be a competitive tournament. I think it's just going to be for those Fog Whisperers, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Just for them.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. All right. So, sticking on the theme of speculation, Resident Evil chapter, guys. What's your thoughts?
I'm going to speak on behalf of my boy Tat, who couldn't make it today. Yeah. he would love the chapter. I mean, there's a lot of cool. I don't play the game because I was scarred as a child when it was put on my PS1 and it scared the life out of me.
Yeah.
So I haven't played it since. But yeah, I think they've got a lot of cool mobs in there, a lot of cool zombies like that. Miss Professor X is pretty cool. I mean, I'm all for them introducing chapters that have got cool game franchises that will encourage more people to play as well. Like, everyone that plays Resident Evil is more likely to come over and give Dead by Daylight a try if their favorite characters from that game are in this game.
Yeah.
It's like Stranger Things. Like, I know when Stranger Things chapter came out, this game got a lot of attention because every Stranger Things fan wanted to give it a go. And it's actually one of the reasons I played. I actually bought the Stranger Things chapter when I first started playing because I wanted to play Demogorgon, who sucks. But I think this is going to be a great thing. I mean, I'm all for it. And if it is true, then that's going to be quite an exciting chapter when it comes out.
I also have never really played any Resident Evil games, but from a more general perspective, I am happy that there's potential that there may be more game-based franchises coming to DBD. Like, we started off with Silent Hill, and I would love to see like any real other sort of horror game get introduced into DBD.
Captain Salty, are you a Resident Evil fan?
I don't care. I like the series, but I don't think it's like it should always everything should be in Dead by Daylight because the horror aspect of Dead by Daylight is like laughable. So like you take a franchise and people are not scared of the killer anymore. Like what is the point of it? The same with Pinhead. It's like I was like I want Pinhead in the game, but like how would he be scary in the game that is like so broken and busted like Dead by Daylight? It's like no. It's like if they want to do it, it's okay, but I like the original killers more. Like they actually have like their own ideas of how the killers should work and stuff, and they are mostly more interesting to play.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I know Lydia, when she was on, she was quite excited, saying she'd love to see a Resident Evil chapter. It seems like us three aren't that bothered. I'm the same as you guys. I played it on the PlayStation 1 when it first came out, and haven't really played any of the others since. But I do agree with what you're saying, guys. I think the crossover, I think Silent Hill as well, that was shown to bring more new players over, the Stranger Things. So hopefully anything to keep building the player database up, reduce them queue times for us, would be a welcome addition. Okay, so an interesting question for you guys. I watched a video by Scott Jund, and I think Captain Salty, I think you might have sent me this, and he explains about what he thinks the reasons are that Dead by Daylight works. And I thought, that is a fabulous question to have on the podcast. So why do you think Dead by Daylight works? I know we've mentioned before, we've had Terrico on, who had put on about the game potentially dying, things like that. But ultimately, the figures show that year on year, the game's grown. Why do you think that is, guys? We'll start with you, Potato.
It's a real simple reason. There is no other game like it. And I think that's the reason why it keeps bringing people back. And you've got all of these unique killers in the game, and the fact that you can play Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Demogorgon, it's going to attract a lot of new players. Obviously, us experienced players that are finally in the game, we don't care for all of these killers anymore as much as we did when we first started playing. But it still attracts new players for that reason, and it's one of those games that you never really get bored of. It's the same thing over again. If you think about it in a small context, all you're doing is repairing generators by holding down the mouse click button, and you're running away from a killer. That is it, and the killer's just chasing you. The whole horror aspect, the whole fact you can play with your friends, the whole time every game is different. The reason it's growing is because there's no other game like it, and until there is, I can't see them dropping in sort of people wanting to join in the future. And if they keep producing content and hopefully increasing the quality and not more buggy content, then they'll continue to grow. So that is the reason why I think it's constantly growing and it's got its popularity, because it's very, very unique.
Yeah.
I think if you consider that this game is 4 years old now, and over the time people will get tired and sick of balancing, maybe developer make a better decision and they don't want to play anymore, and those people will leave. So you have less veteran players and you get more people, because more new people get hyped by things they don't know yet. Like they didn't play the game for so long, so they don't know how buggy or unbalanced it is on a certain skill level, and those people will come, like, because this game is like, it grabs casuals, but the gameplay is actually not even casual friendly, because the learning curve is pretty high for everything. And people that play this game for over 2k hours, like, they will get tired of this game sometimes, and then they just stop it and then come back when something new comes. But they won't stay if they don't like the new changes. Like, for example, I know that Scott Jund is like getting forced to just stream because he didn't like twins, for example. And he hasn't played the game actively like he used to be, because he was disappointed by the whole twins patch and stuff like that. So he just casually plays Dead by Daylight, for example. And what the game is losing is experienced veteran players, and that makes the game easier for everyone to play. That's why killers are overperforming, because the killers that are actually in the game and they played it since the beta, that they are really fucking good, and they will break any expectations new players have on this game, because the lack of really experienced players over the years, they dropped, but they get new players. That means the skill level will never reach a higher point where it goes into this unbalanced thing we all talk about. You know, it's like 80% of the people that play Dead by Daylight will never reach that top tier because they are not really caring about getting better in this game. And this is why Dead by Daylight works, because people that are new to the game won't become really good in this game, because in the modern gaming community, it's like if you waste time into a game, it's not fun anymore. You know, like if you get dedicated towards a game and you don't play it for fun anymore, you want to reach something, and that's the modern thinking of gamers nowadays. And the reason that we lose all veteran players that are here since the beginning and gain new people is the reason why this game works. And if it would and the second thing is, if it would be a second game like Dead by Daylight, everyone would go there, because if it would be more balanced and stuff like that, people would abandon Dead by Daylight for a competitive aspect in another game. But because we all talk about this game as a joke on a competitive level, and there's nothing you can do if you are like already mastered the game and you play against new players, most of the time you get bored by it, you know? It's like, It depends on the balancing.
I get what you mean, and I might. So I have to say I disagree, purely because I know you've mentioned about veteran players, and guys, if you disagree with me, by all means, just say no, you're talking rubbish. But I know you've mentioned it a few times, CptSalty. And
Oh, you're talking rubbish.
Let me speak first. Let me speak. But do you not think? And I'll tell you what makes me think that. So, for instance, I put the Hag video on the other day, and you commented and said the best Hag player is Michi and Space Coconut. Yeah. Now, I am presuming, I know Space Coconut has played for 3 years as Hag. Michi, I don't know him well enough to say. I mean, I don't really know Coconut, but just going off her videos. Now, do you not think that new players will not reach at? I mean, I don't know, Potatolegion, I know you said you've been playing for about 2 years. Are you saying that someone like Potato is not going to reach at standards as a veteran player, or myself, or Skinny, if he's only been playing a short while? Because this is the part I disagree with. I think sometimes the veterans, and you know, you see them with the legacy skins and they come on, and it's like, well, actually, guys, the game wasn't made just for you. And yes, I might come in, I might have 1,000 hours, and I might beat players who have 3,000-4,000 hours, because the game is not just skill, it's about strategy. You might have somebody who plays a lot, but doesn't play with any strategy, just loads on and does whatever gets off. But, you know, I think sometimes it's a common misconception that if you are a veteran of the game, that's it, you're untouchable. It should be your decisions on what happens. The game should be catered for you. It should just be all about you guys and how competitive it should be. But I think that's the wrong approach to take. So I think the devs do take that right approach, especially when it comes to introducing new players into the game. You know, they have to balance for everybody. And like I said, I'm just saying it to you as an example, CptSalty, because I know you've mentioned it a couple of times, but I know you're not the only one that thinks like that. I've seen it on comments, I've seen it on forums, and people say, we're the veterans, you know, we should be telling you how to make the game, you should be listening to us, when in actual fact, I don't sit there and think, now maybe it might be a lack of respect, but I don't sit there in particular and think, oh, that guy's got 8,000 hours, what a god he is. I just think, well, actually, I'd love to play you, you know, because yes, I might have less hours, but I think my skill level might be able to match against you. Would I win? Probably not. I don't know. I'm not going to find that out. But you do that. I check it on Steam. I'll check the hours, and I'll always notice if I get salt, it's people who have got a lot of hours and they just expect to go, right, this game is catered for me. I'm going to whoop everyone with it. Does that sort of make sense, guys? Does that?
It makes sense. And I never said that it's only veterans that should be cared about this game. I'm actually, and I had a discussion on a Discord, and I said it to brother who's like a fan of this Undying Ruin combo, and said like that the game should be high skilled. It's like no, because no one would want to play the game if they have to sweat every fucking round. Like if every round would be high level versus like you have to compete against really fucking good players every round, you would get fucking burned out of the game like in one a day, and you will never touch it because it's not fun to just sweating your ass off the whole time. And I know the devs playing in purple, maybe green ranks, something like that, and they balance the game for the people that are more chilled in this game. You know, they don't balance this game around competitive best players in the game. And but what I said is like that people that play for a long time get bored of the game because there is nothing innovational new in this game, and that's why this game is still alive, because new players are there. They still have to learn how to play the game. They will get better in this game, but they don't know everything yet, you know. And when those old players that actually made the break come back for a new patch, they will also, of course, they will be like clashing most people because they have like this experience behind them, you know. It's not something that I said that no one of the new player will become that level, but for what I see in the normal casual community nowadays, modern games, most of them don't care about the game they play. They just play it for fun. And fun for me means like you will never reach a point where you are on like muscle memory, knowing everything about the game.
Yeah.
Because you don't see it with that with that kind of view, you know. I never said that like casual that new players will never reach a veteran status. I have a big example of a person that is like really fucking bad in this game. It's Gamma Lunatic. He's a joke in the German Dead by Daylight community. He has 9,800 hours in this game. He was there before the beta launched, and he's like this mind. If the survivors don't want to play with me and only sit on gens, I will sit in my corner and cry. That's his mindset, because he thinks that this game should be like what he wants the game to be like. He wants to have a lot of chases, and everyone that says like I'm sitting on a gen. And he doesn't even care about checking on the gens, you know. He just expects those players to get off the gen and then flash clicky, and then he gets into a chase without even looking for them, you know. Like he wants no pressure whatsoever. If the survivor team applies pressure, he's like sitting in a corner and cries. And those people are those veteran players that cry about this game. And like same True Talent stuff like that. True Talent is a really good player, but the game doesn't work the way you want it to be, you know? Like this is the whole thing. And new players that experience this game maybe from a different point of view. Like they see it as a horror game and they are actually scared because it's not they don't know better, you know? And maybe a lot of them will never be on this level because they just don't want to stress themselves too much, you know?
Yeah.
But the lack of people that like actually experience and they just leave the game because it's nothing new. Like most of the patches are just a new killer that is most of the time crap and doesn't perform on the level where they play on, and then they just leave the game again. And then new players get caught by new killer, I want to play this game, you know? It's a complete different thing. And because that's why Dead by Daylight works, is because we have different skill levels that keep people like in this game. And if the game would be like far too high skilled, no new players would not play this game. And if it would be too low, most veteran players would quit the game. And that's why they think the whole balancing changes on like around average survivors is a bad thing. But I think it's the best thing they can do, because like most people are not on this high level.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's fair enough. Skinny, you've had a lot of thinking time there. So why do you think the game works?
Well, for me personally, when I first saw this game, it was like back when it was like pretty much brand new, and I saw it and thought, this is a cool game. I don't think I'll play it though, because it looks like one of those like party games, you know, you need to play it with friends. It didn't look like it had much of a matchmaking scene, and I kind of just left it like that for a while until the Saw chapter, because I'm a big Saw fan. I thought, wow, they've got Saw and you can play as the pig. Awesome! I might actually get this now, and I came and I played it, and then from there I sort of had ups and downs and off and ons, but it's always like it started with a particular license I liked bringing me in, and then from there I've seen chapters like the Legion chapter. I saw that and I was like, this character is amazing. I love their design, and it's floated up and down like that. You know, starting with a license and then moving on to seeing the originals and thinking, oh, these characters that were nothing with prior to this game, they were created just for this game. Like Blight as well. Like not just because I don't just main him because he's fun. I main him because his lore and everything surrounding him. I saw it and I thought this is a really interesting, like deep character. So I think for me, the thing that makes the game work is, you know, it pulls in people from particular different like fandoms, and then, you know, brings them in with that, and then sells them on the newer characters, or at least that's the way I saw it when I came to the game. Yeah.
No, it's fair enough. Anything else to add to any of that, guys? Before we move on?
Yeah, I have to say something about that.
Yeah?
And the thing why people say pick is bad is because those players actually reach that level of where survivors actually like pressure you, you know? And under pressure, pick is not good. And like pick is really good if you play against chilled gamers, average players, because they can't handle the slowdown through the traps, you know? Like you saw those statistics of pick being the third highest killer in kill rates, you know, in win rates, and it's a reason because you will notice that against an average party of survivors that are like on fun level, on a like I like this game and I like playing this game, but I'm not good in this game yet, you know, they get completely screwed over the top 3 killers in the game. Pick, because if she gets a bear trap on, people panic. You see it. People will panic. And if you add add-ons to that and the timer goes faster, like people will die because they can't get the trap off. If a good pick plays against an average survivor group, like, you will completely destroy them. Same with Dog. Dog is extremely oppressive towards people that don't know how to loop or don't know how his power works. And Freddy has built in slowdown, which also makes survivors and like average players completely screwed. And that's why people say people that are newer to this game or see this game in a different way, not like would say pick is overpowered. But others that play on a completely different level would say pick is too weak. Which is like, depends on how you see the game and what you want from this game. If it's still fun, you don't care if a killer's weak, you just play it because it's fun. But as a Wraith main or something like that, I can say, yeah, I can 4K most of Survivor friends groups, but against the top Survivor teams, I don't have a chance. But I'm okay with that, you know, I don't have to win every game. And this comments in the forums of like the veterans that claim that because they have so much time in this game and they have so much knowledge of the game that they should be able to win every game, it's just wrong. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's another conversation, because it's interesting. I was talking to someone on one of the Facebook pages yesterday, and they were asking about the clown, the main the clown, or the want to main the clown, but the rank 1, the normally plays Nurse, and they were like, with the new changes, haven't played the PTB, do you think I can main clown comfortably in rank 1? And I was like, no, I think you could probably have fun with him and play some good games, have some bad games, but if you want to be consistently winning, then, you know, you're going to have to stick with Nurse. That's just how it is, because the specific you mentioned about the strong Survivor Friends team, and that's something that sort of annoys me, but hopefully with the new MMR that changes, because I do think there's a lot of people, I'm one of them, I like to play different killers. I don't like to stick with the same one. I get bored of them eventually, you know, and I always think I'd love to play Blight, for example, but I haven't got the patience at the minute to practice him against red rank Survivor Friends. It's like, it just, and yeah, I know people will probably be watching, you guys might think the same. It's like, well, just take your L, just keep playing and take your L. But like you say, you can't help but eventually get triggered and move back to your normal killer to go, right, let me just get a couple of wins and I'll go back to trying someone else. So, but like I said, that's probably a different conversation altogether. Okay, guys. So final question, and I got this because I am doing a Q&A for reaching 1,000 subs. So that video will be out soon, guys. But one of the questions was about different content creators, and I thought actually I'm going to answer that on my question and answers, and I'll skim over it a bit now. But which content creator do you really enjoy watching besides any one of us? Because obviously that's a first point of call, isn't it?
Okay, so this is very easy for me, and it's probably the most obvious answer. It's Otstava, and I actually watched him way before he got famous, like really famous. So I was watching him from his Dark Souls days,
Right.
and he's actually one of the reasons I even played this game. I started watching his Dead by Daylight content, and he still does such a laid back attitude, and like it doesn't matter if he wins or loses. It's very rare you see him get like upset or angry with a team. Maybe he's trying to go for like a win streak or something, and then they bring him to a nasty map and they're just toxic survivors and it winds him up. But you know, that's fair enough. But like he's one of those content creators I'd like to see everyone sort of play like. If everyone sort of took the game in a chilled, fun way like he does, and they're not stressful or salty or toxic, it'd be a much more enjoyable game. You know, to be honest, it's very rare that I get a team that's salty to me or rude at in-game collapse, especially at red ranks. It's normally, I think, for the lower rank players. I remember when I first started playing this, like, if I lost a game to a killer, they'd just call me a noob or diss me so hard, or it'd be the same the other way around. The survivors would teabag me and take the mickey. And even yesterday's stream with Huntress, I just had this Meg teabagging me at the exit gear, and I was just like, come on, please leave, you know? So, yeah, I think he, for me personally, is one of my favorite streamers to watch, and to watch his YouTube videos as well on this Dead by Daylight community.
All right, Skinny?
Yeah, I'm the same. I sort of started, like, when I started playing the game, I went, well, playing it more properly. I looked for guides and stuff, and I saw Ots, and I was thinking, yeah, no, and I picked a lot up from him. But eventually, I think I got to a point where I still enjoy watching his videos, but like I think I've reached a point now where the stuff he's saying, I rarely pick up anything from him now that I haven't already kind of grasped myself. So I started looking out for other content creators, and one day I was just bored and typed in Dead by Daylight Legion main and tried to find, you know, someone, and a video popped up from Raging Ryuga, or just Ryuga, I don't quite know how you say it. And I saw that video and I was thinking, I'm gonna check this guy out. And I looked, and he, like, at the time when I was still maining Legion, I saw how he was playing. I was thinking, you know, this dude plays like almost 1-for-1 how I'm playing Legion, if not slightly better than me. And I was thinking, I'm gonna check this dude out. And since then, I've really, like, it was him who then moved me on to Blight, because like at the time when Blight came out, everyone was saying, oh, he's terrible, he's difficult, everyone hated him, except for Ryuga, who like went on to like play him quite frequently and get good. And I looked at a couple of his videos and applied what he said, and here I am now maining Blight myself. So I have to say, for me, Ryuga's definitely up there as a content creator I quite like.
Great, yeah, I'm familiar with him as well. I've done pretty much the same. He came up on my, it wasn't that long ago, it might have only been about 3-4 weeks ago, came up on my recommended, and I'm like, oh, I've never seen this guy before, and clicked on, and I'm the same. I've watched quite a few of his videos since, so he is quite a good content creator. CptSalty.
For me, it's quite hard because I'm watching content creator because their main is specific killer. It used to be, it's still Farmer John by far, because he's like the most entertaining guy in the whole community, like the meme lord and stuff. It's like if you're sad and you're watching a stream, like you're just constantly laughing, and like you forgot about why you were sad, you know? It's like he's really, like, he doesn't take the game serious enough, like at all. Like he's just joking about stuff like this Dead Hard meme, or look at this one, we need backup, this is the Dead Hard gamer. It's like that. This, I have to smile every time I see this meme popping up. Every time, it's just like really fucking cool. And I've been following Farmer John since the old days when he reigned Old Freddy. He was one of the 3 Old Freddy mains in the whole community, and I loved Old Freddy, and they wanted to learn how to play Old Freddy, and he mastered him. and it's still like, I don't care about this game, man. It's like, you know, it's like it's just a fun game, and you have a fun time, and you play some meme builds and stuff like that. It's like I started with True Talent because like I wanted to learn how to play killer because I was a competitive minded person. But over time, I just like question more and more than what he's saying, and I don't agree with his side on the game. And like Oddstarver and Hexy are like basically on the same level for me. Oddstarver is like a killer that is like, if he doesn't have to like go the 4K winning streak, he doesn't slug that much. It's like just trying to hook more people, get him more chases. And Hexy's like, I don't care if they have fun. I just like play killer fair. I don't camp. I don't tunnel, you know. But I will slug if I get the opportunity to snowball. I will do it. Same with Pangus. Like if he gets an opportunity to snowball, he will do it. And of course Fungus. Like I would say Farmer John, Hexy, and Fungus are my favorite content creators.
Yeah, it's quite a tough question because there's, I'm sat here writing down the people that I watch, and I mean, I disagree with you, CptSalty, because, not disagree with you, sorry, I'm the opposite, because I watch people who main quite a lot of different characters. I did get into a phase where I'd watch one person maining someone, but I found myself quickly switching off after a while. Like I said, there's only so much. And that's just down to my own personal preference. So, I'll take that back. I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was just the opposite. So, for me, the people that I generally watch, I did start off watching True Talent. He's the one, watching him, that got me into the game. I still find myself watching his videos now. I can see why people say the things they do about him, but I still actually enjoy watching his videos. And I do sit there sometimes and disagree, but that's what we do. If everyone agreed with everything in the world, it'd be quite a boring place. So he was the first one that I started watching, but I do watch Fungoose a lot. I love how quick his videos are, and it is just about getting little tips. So he'll say stuff and I'll think, that's a good point, I can try that in the game. For education as well, Oddstarver, I hear you on that. Potato, he's another one that I watch quite often. The other one that I watch, and it's purely for comedy values, I see people in forums saying, if you want to learn the game, who would you recommend? And people say Noob. Now, don't get me wrong, I am subscribed to him. I love his videos. I hope he releases more soon. But I wouldn't say it's educational, but it is from a comedy point of view. Noob does. Did any of you guys come across him? I'm presuming you've probably heard of him.
Oh, yeah. Played against him.
You've played against him, yeah. So I would say from an educational point of view, Fungoose, True Talent, and Oddstarver. From a pure comedy point of view, it would have to be Noob. So yes, that was it, guys. Perfect time. And sorry, Skinny.
Sorry. Do we have time to cover? I know you said that would be the last, but there's one more. There's a thing I wanted to bring up, if that's okay.
Yeah. As long as Potato, you're not due to stream or anything, are you?
Yeah, no, go for it, mate.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was a leak that came up earlier in the week, and I brought it up to Potato on his stream, like there and then when I got the tweet about it. But one of the leak accounts that I follow recently found code talking about the potential for VR support coming to Dead by Daylight, and like there's a bunch of different headset types and code like about the controls and everything. I was wondering what people would think about that.
Yeah, I mean,
motion sickness, here I come.
For me, it'd be unbelievable. I know all of us mentioned it at some point during the podcast today. We mentioned about the horror aspect. Don't know about you guys, but for me, when I first started playing, I was generally felt like it was a horror game. I didn't know much about the game. I was in this dark realm, trying to fix a generator or generally walking about not knowing what I'm doing. And you'd hear the heartbeat. It was generally scary. And it's lost a bit of that horror appeal, which is probably the same for anything, after you've played it for so long. I think something like a VR would definitely bring that back, I think.
I think so. I mean, obviously, I think if you play Killer in VR, I hope the arm movement doesn't actually work with your actual arm movement, because I could just see it being very strange as the killer's waggling his arms around in VR. But if it was like just the motion, I think what Soti just said there, motion sickness would be a problem for fast killers. But a survivor, I think if you're survivor only, it'd be kind of cool, potentially. It'd be bloody terrifying. You're working on a gen and you tilt your head in real life and there's a Michael Myers standing right behind you. You'd probably jump out and fall over or something. But yeah, if they could do something cool like that with Survivor, but not, it's sort of separate to the game and something you can just do for fun, then yeah, why not? I mean, it sounds like a blast.
Just on that note, I think Myers still has that effect now. He's the only killer, him and Ghostface, when I'm just sat there, and you're playing, and then you might not be taking too much notice, and all of a sudden you're just spinning the camera around and he's just stood there. Scary, man, it's scary.
Yeah, they need to introduce more killers where their power is just staring at you to gain.
Yeah.
I think the biggest jump scare I've ever had, where Michael had literally found a bush on the open, I can't remember the name of the map, the open map with Shelter Woods, and he was just standing behind a tree and just could barely see him, and he got to like tier 3, and I couldn't see him the entire time. And he just came right behind me, and I literally screamed so loud, it was unreal. And if you watch me on stream now, I get jump scared by the most stupidest things. Like a Kate will walk next to me and I'll jump out of my skin. Like it does have that fun aspect, and I think if they introduce that into VR, it'd make that little jump scare 1,000 times worse. But it'd be fun to play for sure if they nailed it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great idea. One thing you mentioned there, Potato, I could hear you on that one. I actually had the biggest jump scare ever on Dead by Daylight only a few weeks ago, and it was by somebody smashing a pallet on me. So I was walking around the shack, and I didn't even know there was a survivor in there, and this guy was obviously hiding behind the little panels on the side, and I went to walk in and this pallet just comes smashing down. And honestly, I was like, this is quite sad that from a horror game, this is the biggest jump scare I've ever had. Like, I literally jumped off my chair like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, I can relate to that. That happens to me way too often. And I try and hide it on stream. I'm just like, I don't want to be embarrassed that I've just been scared my pallet stop. Yeah, those ones do catch me too, yeah.
CptSalty, VR, what do you think? Besides the motion sickness, something that interest you?
But very cool for Survivor, because Survivor is not scary enough. And if they want to make this game more horror aspect, VR would save it.
Yeah. Okay, short and sweet. Right, okay guys, so anything else to add before we leave? Skinny, you happy with our answers there, or did you want to find out more?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to say is when I brought it up, I completely forgot to give my own opinion on it, so that would be a good thing to start with. Yeah, I think VR in DBD would be cool. My only concern is obviously the motion sickness, because there's some killer powers where I think like Nurse and Billy and that, especially basically the ones that make you go quite far really quickly, would be really like sickening to play in VR. And then also the fact that because this game has two different distinct perspectives, killer's first person, survivor's third person, even if they were to incorporate it for a survivor, how would that work? Because it's then throwing survivors into a perspective they've never had before, and how would that change their level of gameplay? Because I know, especially like looking behind you while looping, how would that work in VR? I imagine, 1 second you can't see someone, because you look behind you, and then you look forward and boom, you're face first into a wall. I know that would be like, it's much easier to do that in first person than it would be to do it in third.
Yeah. It definitely, I mean, the more we speak about it, the more, like, I was thinking there, how would it work as killer, but definitely as survivor, I think it sounds really good. But yeah, I mean, I even in first person now, or third person, I'm running into walls now, so it doesn't make much difference. But yeah, it'd definitely be interesting, and definitely for me something I'd like to see tried, to see how it goes, how it works. But yeah, thank you for that, guys. Thank you everyone for the time you've give up to come on, and thank you for your thoughts, and hopefully I'll catch you all again next week. Okay, hope you enjoyed it, guys and girls. If you did enjoy it, please do me a favour, please press that like button, Drop a comment, let me know if you want any questions answering in the next podcast, or you've got any topics you'd like us to discuss. And don't forget guys, if you haven't already done so, please consider pressing that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and it will update you every time I release a new video. Alright, thanks guys.